My name's Neil Andy, for those that don't know me. I've been a fisheries bailiff on Ribble now for 30 years, full and part-time, so I've been on there a while. Predominantly on upper Ribble, so from here upwards, but obviously with salmon populations you go up and down, and we've covered Odder and Loon and everything. What I've tried to throw together is basically what I think's one of the most monumental things that's happened on Ribble for wild trout anyway, and I think it happened very, very quickly, so here goes. In 1994 there was some work done down on the mitten fishery down here by scientific predecessors within our domain, if you like, where they stocked over 3 years, I think it was 100 fish in 2 stockings, to try and find out what was happening to the stockfish in that fishery. Now, what they found out was that the fish didn't tend to move very far, that I think it was about 30% were caught in the first few weeks, and that it appeared that they weren't overwintering or they weren't staying in that area. The advice that they gave it after it was, as you can see, there were 20,000 fish that were being stocked into these 3 rivers round the northwest, was more from a point of anglers catching fish and having the best opportunity. So the advice, or part of the advice at the end of it, was that they suggested that you should put your fish in earlier, so put them in March and April, so that you got a better chance of catching and a better return for the fish you stocked. So that was back in 1994, and we moved fairly swiftly on. By early 2000, so 2001, 2002, we began doing fencing projects, and I think there was a recognition that habitat improvements were a potential way forward. So this picture here is showing fish being stocked in, actually on, as part of a project which you'll see in a minute, on Manchester Stranglers Water on Upper Ribble. So in 2003 there were around 800 to 1,000 fish stocked seasonally between March and April on Manchester Stranglers waters. And talking to anglers going up and down river, it's became fairly obvious after a very short period that they were putting back probably 90% of fish they were catching. So I started asking myself a few questions. There's so many trout being stocked and all these fish being put back in river, why aren't they spawning at back end? Now we're stocking them and we're releasing them and they're not there, so you know, where are they? Where are they going to? What's happening to them? And we're stocking in the spring, potentially affecting juvenile salmonid numbers, you know, I mean the whole range of salmonids, so salmon, sea trout, brown trout. In spring on upland rivers, there's not that much food around, so you get into late March, early April when your trout and your salmon and your sea trout are spawning, that's a big source of food for a hungry fish, and especially if you're putting stock trout in. So would stocking later potentially help with that if we go to stocking, you know, a bit later on in season? So in 2003 I approached Ian from Manchester Anglers Riverkeeper and their committee and suggested if we could start a project that we could mark the stockfish that they put into the river to try and answer some of the questions and possibly other questions. So there you go. What we did is pre the stocking in 2004, I think it were, tried seine netting one of the key pools, which an area where the, you know, quite a number of the stockfish would go into, to try and assess what fish were overwintering, what stock it had in it to start with. Well, majority of fish we caught, which weren't a lot. I think if you look at them, you'll think, well, they're not stockfish. They're full tails, development, everything. They're you know, they're just wild brown trout as far as I can see, and I think a lot of you guys in here would be of the same opinion. So moving on, in 2005 all the stockfish that went into Manchester Stranglers water, which was pretty much near 1,000 fish, I removed the adipose fin pre-stocking, so that when anglers were catching these fish they would be able to identify them. We moved on in 2006 where we actually fin clipped them and pan jetted them so that the anglers and me could identify the 2 different years.